Hello lovely humans! Today we are going to break one of the Madrigal family's most important rule. We're going to talk about Bruno.
If I could take you up in boom, 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 tell me I'm the only one that you know. Life could be a dream, sweetheart.
Just putting it out there, I think Encanto is one of the best animated films that ever came out of Disney, and is frankly my favorite. The levels of familial complexity combined with the many interesting and delightful characters is very entertaining to watch. Not to mention is something that a lot of people coming from relatively big families, such as myself, can connect with. A short disclaimer. A substantial amount of the things that I'm going to say in this video are my own opinions and theories. These are not verified information from Disney unless stated otherwise. Though, as someone who loves Encanto and respects its plot, the points that I will be making are rooted from things heard and seen in the movie. These commentaries are my interpretation of those, and I would love to know yours down in the comments. There will be spoilers ahead, so if you haven't watched the film, I highly suggest that you do, because it is so incredibly well made, is the product of 5 years of hard work, and is so heartwarming. Invite your family to watch with you also because it is such a terrific get-together movie for any age. Bruno Madrigal, most notably known as Bruno, is the only son and the youngest of the fraternal triplets of Alma and Pedro Madrigal. He possesses the ability of precognition, the gift to see into the future. Throughout the film, he is seen to be wearing a rust-colored shirt and dark pants and a dark green ruana over top with hourglass prints that symbolize his gift. From the village people's recollection of, and Mirabel's own encounter with Bruno, we were also able to see that he was a man of lank build, gaunt and spindly, and has a disheveled appearance, a physical representation of his stress and anxiousness on account of years of suffering and neglect. He was also often seen in the company of his rats, which provided him with entertainment and companionship, especially during his decade of isolation. So little was revealed about Bruno at the start of the film aside from what was spilled out by some of the family members and townsfolk during the We Don't Talk About Bruno musical section. There was a sinister and mysterious air that surrounded his character. Word on the street was that his gift, which was considered more of a curse, caused a lot of trouble for people, which his sister Peppa took personally because she blames him for her and Felix's wedding day being ruined. Instead of being just the bearer of news, he was labeled as someone who made bad things happen. Take this line from the song, for example, which says, "Your fate is sealed when your prophecy is read." Because so much of what was revealed about Bruno in the beginning were the town people's individual opinions based on their fleeting encounters with him, which were mostly negative to begin with. Apart from Isabella, combined with their ever-growing prejudice about his so-called gift, we were able to form our own hesitations and negative sentiments about this strange character, even though we haven't met him yet. It just goes to show that even though untrue, lies when told often enough eventually become the truth, at least in people's minds. Such is the case especially for the audience whose first encounter with Bruno came from the words of the seemingly trustworthy villagers. Though, in this scenario, the stories told were more rumors than actual blatant lies. Thus, the idea that Bruno is actually the true villain of the film slowly began to form. Because Bruno was not around during the first part of the film to defend his reputation, this antagonistic persona and idea of him continued to take root. with the thought of him being the true enemy of the Madrigals in mind. In the rising action, we just now get properly introduced to Bruno through his personal encounter with the protagonist, Mirabel. At first, with the way he acted and looked, the negative things told about him seemed plausible and true. He entered the film during a nail-biting sequence and then fled, leaving Mirabel to deal with the danger on her own. Up until the very last point when we were about to see the real Bruno, he still seemed like the very person everyone in town was warning Mirabel of. It really seemed like he was the enemy of the Madrigal family. And then click. A sudden switch. He returns for Mirabel and saves her from falling towards a deep and dark abyss, which we later saw wasn't as deep and dark as we first perceived it to be. Truth be told, I think everyone already knew that Bruno was not the villain he was said to be after Mirabel went to his room and collected the Vision slab. I think this preconceived notion that things just aren't the way they seem to be in movies are especially helpful when it comes to discerning characters with depth. Though, when he fled from Mirabel when she needed him, suspicions of maybe he really was the villain became justified. That was the first twist. And then he came back for Mirabel soon after. Suddenly, him being someone good became the twist, even though this was our predetermined belief in the first place. Through his talk with Mirabel, we were then able to realize that the majority of what the people in general thought of him and what he really was as a person were drastically different. He definitely did not find joy in giving bad news, and he definitely did not feast on people's screams. The townsfolk saw him as someone who made things happen rather than just having the gift of prediction, which also caused him affliction and distress. Him not telling people about the visions he saw of them didn't make them any less likely to happen. But because of what was said about him, he slowly started to believe them, though in reality, he knew that these accusations were false. The way that the townspeople presented Bruno was also a major contributing factor to building up this foreboding character of him. Of course, no one likes hearing bad news, even more so taking responsibility for the bad things that do happen. So I think, though unfair, the villagers blaming Bruno for the unfortunate things that happened to them was very understandable and relatable. This did not make them bad people per se, just realistic ones. Instead of being the antagonist in the film, he was in fact revealed as the secondary main character, acting as a constant, though brief, companion to Mirabel and aiding her in her mission to save the family's magic. For a while, he secretly patched the cracks behind the walls, which can also be seen as a metaphor for saving his kin, and even went as far as standing up to his mother, which he had a complicated relationship with, to defend Mirabel and take the blame for Casita's destruction. His entrance to the movie was of tremendous importance, albeit late. In my opinion, a story's overall qualities are told in the earlier parts, though the main theme is usually saved for last. By giving audiences the time to form their own perception and judgment of a character, people are then drawn to and invested in the plot more, which makes for very smart storytelling. I think people are more sensitive to surprises this way because they care more for what is happening to the story and the character. Personally, I was very empathetic toward Bruno in particular because at the start of the film, I had a feeling that he was judged unfairly. In view of the fact that he was quiet and kept to himself most of the time, he can be and was easily misunderstood. This irony that his gift did more harm than good was such an interesting concept that one cannot help but be pulled into his character. Everything about this animated film was just so carefully thought out that they just worked together so well to create this magical world. I loved Encanto so much, and I hope that my video showcases just that. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you have any suggestions as to which character I should make an analysis of next, feel free to write them down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later and stay beautiful.